Carrie Underwood reportedly set 3 non-negotiable rules to return to American Idol. Carrie Underwood's return to the judges' table did not come as a given. Behind the scenes, the country star reportedly weighed walking away from the show that first made her a household name and only agreed to stay after setting 3 firm ground rules. Those reported conditions say a lot about where she is in her career and about how much leverage a marquee judge now has on a long-running franchise. What is clear is that producers wanted Carrie Underwood back badly enough to rework parts of the show around her, and that she was willing to push back rather than quietly accept the status quo. The result is a new season shaped not just by ratings math, but by one of its biggest stars insisting on a different way of doing things. By the time the next season of American Idol started to take shape, multiple reports were already describing a struggling Carrie Underwood who had nearly quit the show. Those accounts framed her as seriously considering a clean break, with insiders saying she was close to walking before producers agreed to specific terms that would keep her on board. The language around her almost quit moment underlined how fragile the relationship had become and how much negotiation it took to secure her signature for another run. Social clips and follow-up coverage repeated the same core storyline, that Carrie Underwood had nearly quit American Idol but ultimately agreed to return once 3 strict conditions were met. A longer write-up on the same saga again described a struggling Carrie Underwood who almost quit American Idol, crediting those 3 conditions with keeping her in the fold and explicitly tying her comeback to that deal to keep her on board. Unverified based on available sources is any suggestion that she had already informed producers she was out. What is documented is that she came close enough that her future had to be formally addressed. What her 3 non-negotiables reportedly look like. The most detailed breakdown of Carrie Underwood's alleged demands surfaced in fan circles, where one widely shared post laid out 3 specific conditions tied to her decision to stay on the show. According to that account, labeled as alleged and based on a blind item, the first and most sweeping request was to move all auditions and Hollywood Week to Nashville so she could be closer to home and her country base. The same discussion emphasized that these demands were framed as non-negotiable if producers wanted her to stay on the show, and that they reflected a broader audit of how the series was treating one of its biggest names. That fan breakdown of Carrie Underwood's alleged demands to stay on the show lined up with the broader narrative that she had nearly quit and only relented after 3 strict conditions were accepted. The idea that she wanted the show's early round hub shifted to Nashville dovetails with her identity as a country star and with the franchise's long history of courting that audience. While the specifics of the other 2 demands are not fully verified in the available reporting, the same thread stressed that the list came out of a deliberate audit of how the quarter-century-old brand was operating, rather than a spur-of-the-moment ultimatum. Unverified based on available sources is any claim that contracts were rewritten word for word to reflect each bullet point, but the pattern of 3 conditions appears consistently across the reporting. How ABC and Idol producers responded. On the network side, the response was to publicly lock in Carrie Underwood's place in the judging lineup and to signal that the show itself was evolving. An official update from ABC, flagged as official, announced Carrie Underwood's future on American Idol Season 24 and made clear that she would continue as a judge despite the swirling speculation. That same official language appeared again in another post about a struggling Carrie Underwood who had nearly quit American Idol Season 24 but agreed to come back under 3 strict conditions, underscoring that the network wanted to put a firm stamp on her return. At the same time, promotional material for the new run leaned into the idea that the stage is set and the rules are changing, with one teaser noting that American Idol has confirmed its return this Jan but not without a major shakeup. Another version of that promo repeated that the stage is set and the rules are changing and again highlighted that American Idol would be back this Jan with a different feel. Separate industry coverage had already confirmed that latest Carrie Underwood, Luke Bryan, and Lionel Richie would all return as judges for the show's 24th season, tying her renewed deal to a broader decision to keep the core panel intact after the previous year's Season 23. Taken together, the messaging painted her conditions not as a problem, but as part of a larger refresh. Why timing, touring, and Nashville mattered. One reason Carrie Underwood had the leverage to push for changes is that her touring calendar in 2026 is unusually open. In a recent interview, She made it clear she is not touring in 2026, explaining that since then, after wrapping her Reflections Las Vegas residency in April 2025, she has not lined up a new run of arena dates. A separate late-night appearance doubled down on that point, with Carrie Underwood drops disappointing news on Kimmel as she told fans there were no tour plans for 2026 and confirmed that Carrie Underwood had no festival dates on the books either. With no massive road commitment, she had room to prioritize television work, but also less incentive to accept a grueling travel schedule built around someone else's production calendar. That context helps explain why a demand to move auditions and Hollywood Week to Nashville would resonate. If Carrie Underwood was going to spend a big chunk of a year without touring on American Idol, it made sense for her to want the show's early round engine closer to her home base and creative community. The alleged list of demands to stay on the show framed that relocation as a key piece of the puzzle, and fan discussion around the post treated it as a smart way to align her personal life, her country roots, and the needs of the franchise. Unverified based on available sources is any suggestion that every single audition stop will now be in Tennessee, but the reported push toward Nashville fits neatly with the rest of the timeline. What it means for Idol's next chapter. For a series that has been on the air for more than 2 decades, any sign that the rules are changing is significant. The latest promos for the upcoming Jan return have leaned into that idea, repeating that American Idol has confirmed its return this January but not without a major shakeup, and that the stage is set and the rules are changing. With Carrie Underwood, Luke Bryan, and Lionel Richie all back in their chairs, the show is betting that familiar faces plus a retooled format will keep the brand from feeling stuck in reruns. The fact that one of those judges reportedly helped drive the shakeup by insisting on 3 strict conditions suggests a new balance of power between talent and producers.